Mike here. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're ready to explore this free downloadable Excel file I've put together for you to track your rental income and expenses very easily. I have a lot of clients who are either real estate investors currently or people wanting to become real estate investors. And one of the most common questions I get is, how do I account for my rental activity if I don't have QuickBooks, if I don't have Wave accounting software? Can you do it in Excel? And the answer is yes. We're about to make your accounting for your rental activity a lot easier. Okay, you crazy kids that want to be real estate investors, let's go over this. And in this video, I really want to focus more on the accounting side of things and a little bit less on the tax side of things. Now, I have made a video similar to this in the past, but I've just updated the spreadsheet, and I want to go over with you how to use this properly. The way to use this, and what I would do with this is I would save this template, and I'm going to have a link to this, a Dropbox link in the description section of this video. And I think I'm also going to put this on my website as well, so that the original template does not get distorted by anybody or changed by anyone. The way to use this is to save the original and then make a copy of the original once you've saved it, and then use it for your purposes. So I want you to always have a copy of the original, because for each property, for each separate rental property you have, I would recommend having this spreadsheet. So for example, for your first rental property, where it says in the top left corner, property address, let's just call this property 1. And this, it doesn't matter if it's commercial, it doesn't matter if it's residential, whatever it may be. It could be land, it could be. But for each separate property that you're renting out, have one of these spreadsheets and the records separate. Does that make sense? And then for each year, you fill this out from January through December for whatever tax year you're looking at. So right now, obviously, we're looking at tax year 2022 because we're in 2022. At the end of every year, what I would like you to do, or what I suggest doing, is copy this and make a version for 2023. That way, you always have your accounting data for 2022 and previous years completely set, and that history will not get deleted. So each year, just make a new one of these and copy it for each property and for each new year. I really hope you're enjoying this content and this information. If you are, you can do me a huge favor and tap that like button. It really helps spread the reach of this video. And if you guys really want to help me grow my channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. Just share this information with others, especially if you know somebody who wants to do real estate investing, who has rental properties. It could help them really organize their information and save money on tax return preparation, or just better understand how accounting works for their rentals. Thank you so much. Okay, let me show you how to start off with this and how the spreadsheet works. You may be inclined to override these numbers with what your rental income numbers are. Please do not do that. The reason why is, you can see if you click on these dollar amounts, see how there's formulas here? That means it's linked. The spreadsheet has linked formulas. And so if you manually type in over this, it's going to override the formula. And what's going to happen is the spreadsheet is no longer going to work as it's intended to work. You can fix it, but if you're not savvy with Excel, please do not override the formulas, because it's just going to create headaches for you. Now, so if you want to insert your rental income, the way to do that is actually, if you look down below here, see these different tabs? So this first tab is really the summary page that summarizes all of the rental income and all the expenses for your rental. The next tab over, and when I say tab, it's really structured like accounts. So your rental income account, your advertising expense account, it's all down here, cleaning and maintenance account. So every time you want to add an expense to one of these categories, make sure you come here and click on the right tab and add the expense in that section. And then the spreadsheet is going to populate the rest, and I'll show you how. So for your rental income, for example, here's rental income. You can see this is where you can manually type in how much rent you receive for that property. And I would encourage you to put a date. So let's just pretend you received $1,000 of rent in January 31st of 2022. Drop a date in there. And then you can add, the rental income for each month as you receive it. Now, Mike, what happens if I have more than one rental check in a month for the property? Well, it's very easy to fix. So don't worry, guys. We got you covered. all you need to do, especially if you're not Excel savvy, is right click. See this? So let's say we have another rent income check in January. Right click this row or the next row down, right click and hit insert. You're going to insert a row. You're going to insert one more row. And now you can type in once again, so that let's just say you got at the end of the month, you also got a second check for $500. You can see, because there's formulas down here, this column now totals to $1,500. If you double left click here, you're going to see that formula in place. And once again, please do not override the formulas because you'll get yourself in trouble. And then if we go back to our summary page now, you can see now the rent in January now reflects $1,500. And so that's why by having these accounts separate in separate tabs, it's a lot easier to customize how you're receiving the income, and you can see everything monthly, which is why it's important, in my opinion, to follow the inputs this way. And so let's go on to the next tab. So now, if you didn't want this tab here, or this row, all you would just do is right click and hit delete. And voila, that's as simple as that. Let's see how this next one works. So now we have advertising. So advertising, same concept. If you paid somebody to advertise your property in May of 2022, you would just put the date of May 2022. You would put advertising, or whatever it's for, or whoever you paid. And if it was in May, you would just put, let's say you spent $100 in May to do that. So you just put $100 here. Now, if we go back to our summary page, under advertising, we can see, oh wait, look at that. It's not showing up. Why is that? Because it's not appropriately linked. And this is a perfect example of why this spreadsheet's not perfect. So, but let me show you how to fix that on screen. So a lot of people ask me, how do you link things in Excel? It's really simple. It really is. All you do, and when it comes to learning Excel, and that's not what this video is about, you can Google all of this and look on YouTube and you can find your answers. But if you want to link this row where it says advertising expense, hit the equal sign. Okay, I'm hitting equal. I'm going to go to my advertising tab, and right here, I'm going to link the total column down below here, right here, and hit enter. And so now this cell is linked to my advertising tab. So I'm just going to drag this over just like this. I'm going to drag it across all the way through December, and I'm going to let go. And now it's picking up that $100 in May from advertising, which is right here. So that's how you can link a cell. Super easy to do, but for those who aren't Excel savvy, it's okay. As you can see, none of this is rocket science. You guys can totally do this. And so I'm kind of glad, and I did not plan that error for this video. It was there, and I just caught it right now. So yeah, that's how this can work. But essentially, and I'll show you how to create another row too here. Essentially, the same works for cleaning and maintenance. The insurance is linked. So all these expenses are linked, which I think you guys get the idea now. So what happens if you want to link an expense that is not currently listed here on the left-hand side of the spreadsheet? You're like, what if there's pest control that you pay? Well, then let me pretend this row is not there at all. So what do we do? How do we add pest control? Very simply. So we're gonna, wherever we want to insert pest control, we're gonna select this row right here, right click and hit insert. You're gonna insert a row, and let's just call this pest control. Now, is there a work tab down here called pest control right now? Well, we can scroll through here, and the answer is no. There's not a tab. So how do we get it there? Well, very simply, all you need to do is just copy one of these other tabs. If it's an expense, copy the expense tab. If it's an income account, copy an income tab. But all you need to do is copy, let's say we want pest control probably to be right around here, right after mortgage interest, so it's in line with this. So I would right click on mortgage interest. Once you're in here, right click on this, select move or copy, and what you want to do is create a copy of the mortgage interest tab. Okay, You know, you can copy any tab you want. You really can. But just go ahead and copy the mortgage interest tab. You're going to see why. So create a copy and hit OK. Now you have 2 mortgage interest tabs right here. So what I do is I left click on this, I drag this over, and now I'm going to rename this to pest control. Pest control. So I type that in there, and then up at the top I'm going to type in pest control up here. Now, there's still an issue though. What is it? The thing is, it's still not linked to the front of the spreadsheet. So we still need to link pest control. So how do we do that? Well, we've created the row for pest control. Select the first column right here. See how there's no dashes right here? Which basically indicates there's no data here. We're going to hit the equal sign on our keyboard, hit equals, go to the pest control column, or the pest control tab, I mean, that we've just created. Select this, and select the first row in January. And hit, once it's selected, hit enter on your keyboard. Now it's linked. And we're just going to drag, we're going to make sure we have the right one selected. Yep, it says pest control, and we're going to drag it all the way across now. All the way across. And this is how you drag formulas in Excel. So if notice how there's a blank row here, or in this column, it's not catching this data. So all we need to do is just drag this down. We just need to, if you click on this cell and drag this down, it'll pick up the proper rows. So let's test it. Let's make sure we are seeing how this works. So go to pest control, and let's say you had pest control expenses in April. Let's say in April 2022, the pest control company came out and they charge you $100. They charge you $100 there, and for spraying bugs or whatever they write on that bill of yours, they basically poke. As one pest control guy told me, he goes around to people's houses and he pokes their house with a stick. That's how he described his job as somebody who works in the pest control business. I thought that was pretty funny, to be honest. He says that's the simplest way I can describe what I do. I'm like, sounds like a pretty cool job. So now, since we did the legwork, we entered those, we've linked those formulas. The $100 comes through here, and the $100 now shows here as well, because that's the total amount of pest control that we've spent so far this year. And if we have more expenses, it will add these up as it goes along. So that's how you create new expense tabs and income tabs. The income tab would be the same way. You would insert a row here, and then you would create a separate income tab for that line item. Now, I don't have pet rent on here. I mean, I don't have like a work tab for pet rent, so I'm just going to take this out at the moment. But you can add a tab for other rental income if you want to. It's not linked, at least not this one is. But just feel free to, like I said, keep a copy of the original spreadsheet and then modify it from there, is what I would recommend. And a lot of these expenses, the presentation of how I've organized this pretty closely follows the tax return of Schedule E. If that's how this is organized. So if you're looking back at your Schedule E tax return, it's going to be a lot easier to fill it out. Now, if there's not a primary line item on the tax form for a certain kind of expense that you see here, then you could group this with an other expense, or you would list it out as an other expense on your tax return. Okay, let's talk about limitations. So on the right-hand side, I mentioned, so before changing, save as a separate copy of the original template, which we talked about at the start of this video. So one of the biggest limitations here is this spreadsheet only takes into account the profit and loss activity of the rental. Please remember to account for the balance sheet activity separately, including the basis of the property. This is where most people get hung up. Now, when you just have a rental that you own personally and you just report it on your personal income tax return, this is primarily just all you need. Is just you're going to report your income and expenses. However, when you go about forming an LLC and you put the property in an LLC, a limited liability company, and it's a separate tax return, an LLC sometimes is a completely separate business return that needs to be filed. There's a lot more requirements in terms of filing requirements and accounting requirements with that type of entity. What do I mean? Well, So you're not only do you want to track the profit and loss activity as we're seeing here, but you want to track the balance sheet activity, which is not reflected here. And that's where most people miss the big picture when it comes to accounting. And because most people they're not accountants, right? It's fine. It's totally fair. I do this for a living, so I see this all the time. And so what I try to do is help my clients that I work with learn how to not only more simply account for their accounting activity, but also understand that there's a balance sheet portion to this. I always recommend when you have rentals or any kind of a business really, because a rental, once you have more and more rentals, it's kind of like a trade or business, depending upon how you treat it. I would suggest personally that you get a separate business checking account for your rental properties. That way, what it does is all the income you receive from rent and all the expenses you pay out for advertising, lawn care, maybe the mortgage is paid out of there, this and that and the other, all that's coming out of that account, okay? That business checking account for that rental activity. And one of the main reasons for doing that is that if you aren't good or disciplined at keeping up to date with your accounting records, at least you can go back to those bank statements because it's all consolidated there, and you're only using that checking account, the business checking account for your rental, then those transactions should just be whatever you spent on the rental. Got it? You didn't take your business checking account card and go buy meals for you personally, or you didn't go buy groceries for yourself personally or something else. You just kept it all separate, which is what I really recommend for all my clients. And that keeps the accounting activity at a minimum. It keeps the headaches at a minimum and helps you create this, recreate the data you need to properly account for your records and to file your taxes moving forward. And so start with a business checking account and get that in place. And if you don't know all the benefits of having a business checking account, and there's a lot of free, no-fee accounts out there that you can utilize, then please check out this video next, because it's really going to help you get the right structure for your business or rental properties in this case, and you're going to learn all the primary advantages of having a separate account. There's a lot. Now, with a business checking account, if you have your rental in an LLC, what do you have? Well, you have an asset. That cash account is an asset. And so at the end of the year, you want to know what your bank balance is, because you're going to have to report that on your LLC's tax return, is the total. Now, there is a exception if there's not a lot of assets where you don't have to report the balance sheet, but I usually just recommend it anyways, because really, if you have all of the data, you might as well just keep it up to date. So you know exactly how much in assets you have, exactly like your liabilities would be your mortgage interest, right? What's your mortgage interest? Or your total mortgage liability is what I'm trying to refer to. Your total debt on the property, your total equity on the property, things like that. And then what else would the balance sheet show? So it would show your assets and liabilities, but it also would show one of the assets would be, what did you pay for the property? If you paid, let's say $400,000 for the property, well, part of it's you paid for the structure of that unit, and part of it's for the land. So by looking at the property tax statements, you can kind of see, what portion would be of that cost basis, the $300,000, would be considered the building or the dwelling, as I would say, the dwelling and the land. So maybe $300,000 of that $400,000 is for the value of the dwelling, and $100,000 is for the value of the land. And that's your total rental property asset is $400,000, right? Because that's what you paid for that property. And so you want to think about things like that. And then if you put money into your business checking account to start it up, that is known as a contribution. So it's not income. It's a deposit, but it's a contribution, and it's not considered income. If you take money out of your business checking account to pay yourself and keep some of that rental income for yourself, what is that? Well, that's known as a drawal or a distribution. And so these are the type of things that are happening on the balance sheet side that you won't see here on the profit and loss side. So just remember that. What else is there? There's depreciation, right? So I'm not going to go into depreciation in this video, But just so you know, you can only depreciate the dwelling, not the land. So if the dwelling, if we value that as 300,000, then we're going to depreciate just the 300,000 portion of that. The land cannot be depreciated because the IRS says that land has an infinite life for tax purposes. But we can depreciate the $300,000 amount over 27 and a half years. So we can still get a monthly expense deduction for depreciation every single month and for 27 and a half years until the property is fully depreciated for tax purposes. And so that's the piece that's not on here. And if I get enough engagement in the comment section or enough likes, I might consider doing a balance sheet side of the things so you can see the full picture, because this is really just half the picture. But it will hopefully help you understand that, yes, there's a profit and loss side and there's a balance sheet side to your accounting records. And to have complete accounting records, we have to have both, right? You have to have both in place, especially if you want to have an LLC and have your accounting records done right. You want to keep your balance sheet up to date because all of it is important, and you want to be able to look back and easily determine, oh, this is exactly how much I bought the property for. Oh, this is exactly how much I owe on the property. So it's just helping get all these things in line. Now, and this is the kind of things I help my clients with so as you guys know, I'm a CPA, or if you don't know, I have my own accounting practice, and I work with a lot of people over YouTube and just around the United States in general. I reside here in California where I operate my business, but I work with a lot of real estate investors, a lot of people getting into real estate. And so I help people in this area. I help people with their accounting records, with their taxes, with consulting matters, and things like that. So feel free to download the spreadsheet. Like I said, it's not perfect, but make a copy of the original is what I would suggest. And then you can tweak it to fit your needs or fit whatever type of rental property you have. You might have an Airbnb rental. That's fine. You can totally use it for that. But the last thing I want to point out is that there's also quarterly totals here. So you see how there's a row called quarterly totals? So you can see how much money you're making from your gross rents every single quarter. Well, except April, May. There's a reason it's April, May, because this is following estimated tax payments. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, but if you're making money from your rental, well, that's additional taxable income, right? Well, how do you pay taxes on that? Well, you're going to be, the IRS has a pay-as-you-go system, which means as you make money, the IRS actually wants you to pay in some tax as you go. And estimate payments may be due. Now, this is not true for everybody, so speak with your accountant. But based on how much net rental income you have, you might have to pay in some extra taxes that are not being captured within the withholdings from your paycheck, right? Because you have your income from your job, but maybe it's not enough to cover the taxes you might eventually owe on your rental from what you're making on your net rents if you're having a positive rental income. I believe I have it so that you can print it, and it should be within the proper specifications. Let me see. Yeah, so I have the print area of this worksheet so that it's just covering this area, which means, yeah, so you're just going to get the important data here. It's not going to pick this up or anything below it. The other thing I didn't mention here is you can also track your miles down below this if you want to, if you're going to your rental property, checking on it, especially if you're doing property management, things like that. So like I said, this is not all comprehensive, but it's hopefully a good start to get you in the right direction. And I'll tell you what, your accountant will love you if you summarize your data like this, and it might even save you money when it comes time to file your taxes, because if your accountant is having to do all this legwork for you, they have to charge you more to do this for you. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of record keeping. The more record keeping you can do up front, the better you're going to understand your business of rental properties, and the better you're going to understand where you're at financially. And just the cost savings and benefits of doing this are tremendous. So I would encourage you to do it and take advantage of it. So it's, like I said, it's free to use. Enjoy, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you down in the comment section. Let me know what you use to track your rental activity. Do you use QuickBooks? Do you like using Excel? Do you use some other program? Let me know what works for you. I'd love to hear your questions and thoughts. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our future videos around business, investing, taxes, accounting, and more. And check out this video next, because if you like this one, you're probably gonna like these as well.